Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another GTA 6 video. My name is Saintsfan and we are kind of in a drought of GTA 6 info. Obviously trailer 2 and all the screenshots happened a couple of months ago. There was plenty there to take in, but at the moment, we're just in that drought period where Rockstar are going to be silent. So while we do wait for them to return with more GTA 6 information, probably in a couple of months, I wanted to talk about this very interesting interview that this guy had with an ex-Rockstar employee or an ex-Rockstar developer. I'll leave a link to the interview in the description below, but the ex-developer in question is actually the same guy we've talked about a few times now over the last couple of years, Obe Vermeij. And if we do take a look at the Rockstar wiki, you can actually see he was there from the start. He started at Rockstar North in 1995. He did leave in 2009, so he hasn't been there for quite some time. But if we do scroll down, I mean, he worked on pretty much all those original GTA games. I think his final one was GTA 4. But yeah, he was a pretty big proponent of these games. And I'm just bringing this up to say that this isn't just some random guy. This is a guy who worked for 15 plus years at Rockstar. It's a guy who is still in game development. So like he knows things that I guess most people wouldn't. So as we'll see in the interview, him saying certain things about GTA 6 specifically, I tend to give them a little bit more weight than just some random person on the internet. So let's go ahead and jump into the first big question that he answered. And again, take it with a grain of salt. He obviously hasn't worked on GTA 6, but he knows how these things are made. It's the 60 versus 30 FPS debate. Even after trailer 2 was just released and seeing how insane the world Rockstar is building actually is, I've still seen people on the internet claim that GTA 6 will be at 60 FPS. I'm sure that's probably more out of just hope, like pure optimism. But from what I know when it comes to games, what they're trying to do with GTA 6 is just not possible in 60 FPS. On the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Even the PS5 Pro, because the PS5 Pro wasn't that big of an upgrade from the regular PS5. And that is actually what Obe here says as well. So take a listen to his answer on this topic.
If they have to if they have to sacrifice the frame rate for stuff on screen, visual fidelity, they will definitely do that. So I would guess it probably will be 30. It's like a curse, you just can't get rid of it. It's everybody saying, oh, I'll make it 60 then. But you always get to this point where it's a trade-off between, if you have 10 characters on screen in the street, it just doesn't look full enough. You have I have to have 50, and the price you pay for it is that your frame rate drops a bit. But maybe they have some magic and they can make it 60.
I mean, he does sort of end there with the, the hope that maybe they have some magic. But even Rockstar, I don't think are going to have some magical tool to make the game run at 60 FPS. Unless they do some crazy work and tone down all the stuff he was mentioning, like NPC density, the, plants and stuff that we saw a ton of in trailer 2, especially down in some of those Key West, like the Keys shots. There's so much vegetation. They would have to tone all of that down. And if anyone remembers back with GTA 5, they did that a lot. Granted, that was because they were trying to put GTA 5 on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, but they did tone down a lot of stuff from the beta that we've seen over the years. And especially in something like the online for GTA 6, that for sure is not going to be at 60 FPS. Because not only do Rockstar have to deal with all the NPC and vegetation and all the stuff that, would be in single player, then they have to deal with the 30 plus, 60 plus, however many people are going to be in a lobby as well. And that is one of the reasons GTA Online currently, or used to be, I'm not entirely sure if it's gotten better. That's why sometimes it feels so dead, especially if you're in a big session. You don't see as many NPCs driving around or walking around because that's the sacrifice Rockstar had to make the game run at a somewhat smooth, frame rate for the consoles. Now, obviously, once PC comes out, things will change, and I'm sure there'll be 60 FPS, 140, 240, whatever the case may be. But for the consoles, more than likely, the game will run at 30 FPS. Now, hopefully, I've seen some things with console games going to 40 FPS. Apparently, 40 FPS, even though it's only a 10 FPS difference, is much, much smoother than 30. I'm not a console player, so I cannot comment really on how that works exactly. But if anyone, I guess, has played any console games at a steady 40 FPS, if that's a mode, you can let us know in the comments. Hopefully Rockstar can do that though, if that is such a big difference compared to 30. I guess the one hope is that we don't get the drastic FPS drops that GTA 5 had originally. Again, back on those older PS3s and Xbox 360s, the hardware was not good at all. Sometimes GTA 5 would run into like the teens for the FPS, which was not good at all. So yeah, hopefully, they can figure that out. I'm sure they probably can. But if you are expecting a smooth 60 FPS frame rate for GTA 6, you're hearing it here from a game developer himself. Like, it's a curse, as he said. It's not just as easy as saying, oh, just make it 60 FPS. There's actually quite a lot that goes into that debate. And, I think Rockstar, from what I've seen, I would imagine they want to focus more on the world and how, expansive and dense and alive it is. And I think they would take that over the 60 FPS smoothness. And another thing they did bring up in the podcast interview was that there's a lot of casual gamers playing GTA, right? So when it comes to those type of gamers, like, I'm sure they would like 60 FPS if they had access to it, but they don't really care. It's not like a big breaking point. So Rockstar really probably aren't focusing on 60 FPS that hard. And also, GTA is not a competitive game. Despite how some people play GTA Online, it's not a competitive game. So you don't really need the 60 FPS. Although, of course, I, and I'm sure many others, want it. It's not a necessary thing for Rockstar to really focus on. So hopefully this will be the last time I bring up this debate, because at this point, I think it's just obvious we're not going to be getting 60 FPS initially. That'll be something more than likely they'll release like a year later on the PS6 or something, whenever the new console comes out, as a new game that you have to buy. I mean, we're literally reliving the GTA 5 cycle again. This massive game is coming out on hardware that doesn't seem like is capable of running it, but somehow they squeeze it into it. And then, a year later, the new console comes out, they'll re-release the game, you'll have to buy it again for the 60 FPS and maybe other, improvements. And then, of course, they'll release it on PC at another point as well for another drop. Like, it's literally the same playbook. They're copying GTA 5. So I think we're going to see the same thing play out. It's going to be 30, and then we'll have to wait, probably pay an extra $60, whatever the case will be, to get the 60 FPS mode on the new consoles. And actually, funny enough, as I was making this video, this big quote unquote leak came out about this 60 FPS topic. Although the guy in question here, from what I've seen from the community, they're saying he has about a 90-10 hit rate. 90% of the time he's wrong. He has gotten, maybe 10% of the things he said correct. So not a good track record, but here is what this supposed leak is regarding GTA 6 and 60 FPS. It has been and continues to hit 60 FPS while being optimized for the PS5 Pro on multiple graphical settings. PS engineers are assisting with the optimization due to the new tech being implemented and rolled out with the current target date of May 2026. They're also assisting on several other Rockstar titles that are rolling out in the near future. As of right now, though, 60 FPS is being achieved on the PS5 Pro only. It is anticipated that GTA 6 will have multiple graphical options on the PS5 Pro on release. Also, the Rockstar PlayStation marketing deal is what's allowing and encouraging this collaboration on optimization. We should see several GTA 6 and PS bundles in the next marketing push. This info is from a PlayStation engineer who has provided highly accurate and verified info several times in the past. So look, I guess if you want your hopium, there you go. But the problem is, from everything that I've seen and from what people more knowledgeable than I have said, GTA 6 will be a CPU limited game, not a GPU limited game. Now, I believe the PS5 Pro did get an increase to the GPU, but the CPU is still the exact same as the base PS5. So the hardware on the PS5 Pro isn't really going to help a whole lot, to make this possible. There is the FSR or the PSSR, the upscaling that PlayStation, the PS5 Pro has, that will sort of, in a way, increase frame rates. I mean, this has been used on PC for a while now, like with DLSS. The problem is with these sort of things is you get crazy input lag when you do, increase the frame rates, especially with something that has a lower base frame rate. Like if you're going from 30 to 60, it does cause a pretty big input delay. So I guess maybe you might could argue that they could have a fake 60 FPS, but you're for sure not going to get a base 60 FPS on the PS5 Pro unless Rockstar does a performance mode that just severely compromises on things like the NPC density we mentioned, the resolution, effects in game and stuff. I really don't see them pushing for that though. But personally, like I said, I really don't see them compromising on, those bigger things like that. Now, the other thing I wanted to touch on in this particular video was a very, very bold claim that he had that GTA 6 will actually be the most expensive game of all time, which of course isn't that bold. We kind of know that. But that there will not be a game that ever goes above GTA 6. Like, this is the peak of game development costs. But before we do actually go into that, I mean, check out the podcast if you want. If you're a GTA nerd, I think it's very interesting to listen to him because they do talk about things from the past, GTA 3 and how that all came about, how GTA itself came about initially, GTA 4 stuff. Like, it's actually a very interesting listen to if you are interested. So again, link to it will be in the description. But this is why he thinks that GTA 6 will be the peak for game development costs.
My prediction is that GTA 6 is the most expensive game ever,
100.
and it will remain that way. That would be my prediction. I think there's not going to be a bigger game than GTA 6 because a lot of that stuff is going to be taken over by AI, whether we want it or not.
Now, I know any sort of conversation around AI is pretty controversial nowadays, but it is very interesting to hear him, like a guy who's been in game development almost from the start, say something like this. And it makes sense. Whether we like it or not, this is what is going to happen. I mean, I've just saw some recent articles about Netflix doing a show and they had AI, like generative AI, being used in it. So GTA 6 might very well be one of the last games to not use any sort of AI in it. And he did specifically mention GTA 7, and this is another kind of crazy take here.
No, absolutely. But my prediction is that GTA 7 will be cheaper to make than GTA 6.
Although I will say that's not that crazy of a take if AI continues and, actually does benefit and help game development move along. And he does give some examples here. Here's one just talking about like cutscenes and stuff like that.
I would imagine that, let's say you do a cutscene, you could just, all the characters in the cutscene could just be rendered by an AI, including the conversation, if you just describe the scene. And you still have artists to do tons of artists do the higher level creative stuff, and there'll be glitches to fix and all that stuff. But I think a bulk of the work is probably going to be replaced.
And I will say he goes into a little bit more detail on this in the video, talking about how sort of over the years, it hasn't been AI particularly, but a lot of things that individuals had to do initially, they've been replaced by things that just naturally happen like in these game engines. So this isn't technically anything new in the game development world, but looking at it from a company's perspective, obviously they're going to do whatever they can to decrease costs. I think it's rumored that there's like 4,000 or 5,000 people, maybe 6,000 people working or that have worked on GTA 6. That's a lot of people that they had to pay. Now, obviously they'll make all their money back when the game releases, but I'm sure if Take-Two, the company, had their choice and they could still have a GTA 6-esque game, but without having, to pay 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people and only have to pay, 2,000 people because the rest could be done by AI. Like, they're obviously going to do that, whether you like it or not as a consumer. Now, he does sort of end this take on a pretty optimistic note, which honestly, I hope is the case. Like, I really do. We'll have to wait and see if it turns out to be true. But yeah, here is his optimistic take on AI in gaming over the next, 5 to 10 years.
What I would love to see is that they just have more games. They would still be high quality ones, but then they'll have maybe different settings because it'd be nice to have niche games with niche topics, like maybe a game about, I don't know, a particular battle in the 1800s, or maybe a game about the life of Einstein, or maybe a game about exploration, space, or whatever. If you can make games cheaper, then you can have more niche settings, and I think that would be much more interesting for gamers. So that would be an optimistic scenario. But I don't think AI is going to be doing the creative part. You're still going to have artists sort of setting the style and the look, and you're still going to have writers writing the story. I don't think AI can do that. But there's a lot of sort of yeah, it's a kind of boring work that just artists do now that I think probably AI could do.
I really hope we get that optimistic world, because like in theory, I know there's a lot of AI slop and all that, and you know, obviously AI taking over people's jobs is not a good thing, but in theory, as gamers, we could have so much more content to play because AI could speed things up. Like we won't have to wait 15 years for GTA 7. You know, it would theoretically go a lot quicker due to the AI helping the developers make things. And like I said, you know, obviously you still have the creatives in charge. Maybe one day AI will be more creative than people somehow, but that maybe is sci-fi-esque. But I did think this was a pretty interesting topic. Obviously, again, there's probably a lot of debates to be had on AI in gaming, but maybe we won't have to wait as long for GTA 7, you know, whenever that is, once GTA 6 does release next year. But that is going to go ahead and do it for today's GTA 6 video. Again, like I said at the beginning, we're in the drought of GTA 6 info. There's not even like leaks or anything happening at the moment, so unfortunately we're just gonna have to deal with this. But you've been here from the start of the GTA 6 saga. I think we're all molded by the drought from trailer 1 to trailer 2, the 500 something days it was that Rockstar was silent. So I think we're all kind of used to this at this point. But of course, if anything does happen, I will make videos to let you guys know. So hit that subscribe button if you do want to see more. Thank you guys for watching. Please drop the video like if you did enjoy. Subscribe again for more GTA content. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one.